Welcome to What the Hell. Today we're going to talk about
the Hitman'S wife's bodyguard.
It's so hard to say because the first one was easy. This one is hard to say for me. I kept on having to. It's like Hitman bodyguard wife, Hitman bodyguard wife. But that was a sensational movie, and in my opinion, it brought back comedy.
It did.
Finally.
It really did. And the biggest takeaway from that, besides the fact that Antonio Banderas kind of became like the new age Sean Connery, because you remember Sean Connery, it didn't matter what nationality he was playing. He always seemed to talk in a Scottish accent, and it was great. Antonio Banderas, he comes in there with his Hispanic accent.
And he was supposed to play a Greek.
And he was playing a Greek.
I was like...
I'm like, okay... Yeah, I can kind of see that, But the biggest takeaway from that movie for me was getting to hear Morgan Freeman say the word motherfucker.
Yeah.
I was like, and I looked at you, and I was like, I just got to hear Morgan Freeman say the word motherfucker.
It was so sweet.
It was.
It was so badass on that one.
It was. He's like, I'm just sitting there going, oh my God, did that just happen?
You know what was really messed up, though, throughout that whole viewing of that movie, though? And this is what my takeaway was on it. We were the only ones that were like really hardcore laughing about a lot of the scenes. Especially my creme de la creme of Selma Hayek going, I swear to God, I'm going to strap on a dildo and fuck your goddamn feelings if you don't hurry the fuck up. I was like, I wish I was a chick now. I want to use that.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Reynolds has very few stinkers. I mean, most notably the Green Lantern and Wolverine Origins. And
it's some kind of I'll find it. You talk.
But I mean, it had a lot of action in it. I mean, just the chemistry that Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds have on the screen, dude. It's great. I mean, I really did. I enjoyed that movie very thoroughly. It makes me, want to go back and watch it again, and I would definitely do that without hesitation. I would be no doubt. Hey, look, we're going to go back to the theater and we're going to go watch this again. And honestly, we would probably laugh harder because we're going to be able to pick up on more jokes.
Boltneck, that's what it was. Boltneck was one of those crap movies. It was basically like a Frankenstein type deal.
See, now you got me wanting to go out there and find this. I wonder if it's on Vudu. That's
probably. But it was really one of those movies that, because we've been in a real comedy drain for the past couple of years. It wasn't just 2020. It was more or less just everybody doing the whole.
It's the same guy. I just declined his call. Same guy that tried to call during our sports episode.
Oh,
dude, give me 45 minutes. I'm doing something.
Yeah, but it was just a call. I mean, the last real good comedy that I remember was literally Deadpool 2. I mean, it was Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds again, yeah. I think Ryan Reynolds, he
gives no fucks.
He does, but at the same time,
no, his actual
the fucks that he gives it's about his craft.
Yeah,
and he doesn't try to reinvent himself.
And he's just doing comedy now.
Yeah,
and it's
comedy / action. But I think ever since he took on the persona of Deadpool, / Wade Wilson, it's kind of like,
and that was Wolverine Origins that he was really pissed off.
Yeah,
he was really pissed off about.
We could if there's anything that came out of Wolverine Origins was the fact that Ryan Reynolds just said, you know what, we cannot treat this character this way, and he really went after Fox Studios for years to get Deadpool made.
Yeah,
and when you remember that teaser trailer that came out.
That was accidentally put on the internet.
That was accidentally leaked, and he was like, "Did somebody leak that? Was that me? I don't know, maybe." But and it was I mean, he really went after it. I mean, and you find that with certain actors. I mean, they find a character, they love the character, they know what the character is inside and out, and
Yeah.
they're able to bring something like a new dimension to that character.
Like Hugh Jackman with Wolverine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Hugh Jackman with Wolverine.
Well, he played that for what, 17 years?
Something like that. But I mean, you know, and would I love to see Hugh Jackman come back and reprise the role just for the MCU? Absolutely, because I think that with
Even a passing the torch type deal.
yeah, even if it's just a passing of the torch kind of a thing, but you know, I mean, we have to understand that, you know, actors are they're mortals like you and I, and they're going to age, and it just gets harder and harder for them to get in shape for those roles. But I think with with Ryan Reynolds, rather, you know, we're going to be able to enjoy his films for a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah, 17 years. Because he did X-Men in 2000, and he did Logan in 2017, and I was the last one, so 17 years.
You know, so I think he needs to come back for another 3 films. You know, they can shoot him back to back to back, give him an even 20, so that way we can cut him a pension check and just have him go on about his way.
I don't think he needs that pension check.
You know what? Whatever. He still needs just so we've got absolute closure. I mean, because I'm not gonna lie, I cried at the end of Logan.
Dude, what made me really, really cry was Wolverine. The one that he was in Japan. Wolverine. It was just Wolverine. The Wolverine. And there is a scene in there where the prophecy chick said you're gonna die with your heart in your hand, and you come back alone, and it's kind of a callback to it, and you're like, dear God in heaven, would you stop making me feel feelings?
Right, because the last thing he said was, "So this is what it feels like."
Yes.
You know, and I'm just sitting there going, I'm not gonna cry, because I'm sitting there watching it with 2 other dudes, you know, that I was friends with at the time, and I'm like, wow. Now, if you have a chance to watch that in the black and white noir format,
There's a black and white noir format?
yeah. If if you've bought the 4K disc, or if you have it digital, if you bought the digital 4K edition, like on Vudu, it came with like behind the scenes featurettes, and then there was the noir version. It's the entire movie in black and white. And yeah, I watched it in black and white first chance that I got, dude, and I'm telling you, man, it worked. It really did. It wasn't one of these, hey, it's just a color movie that they turn the color off on. Because, you know, if you watch like the good classic black and white movies like Casablanca and stuff like that, the black and white, the directors and the cinematographers really worked those shadows to tell the story.
Yeah.
And it worked, because you had the really dark, sinister
It's
shadows.
like Clerks.
Yeah, well, Clerks.
The original Clerks. I mean, what brought that more into light, and the reason why Kevin Smith did it, because get budget.
Yeah.
But it really played.
It really did. It I think it helped that film too. But with the Hitman's Wife Bodyguard, it just you got more backstory on the characters. The fact that Samuel L. Jackson's talking about how, you know, he got shot in the nuts during a job, and it turns out it was Ryan Reynolds that shot him in the nuts.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? That was me that shot you in the nuts. He's like, motherfucker.
Let me have that win. Let me have
Take
that
the L.
win.
Take the L. Take the L. You know, I mean, it was a great movie. The writing was really well done. I mean, I think with the Hitman's Bodyguard, the original one, it wasn't designed to be your classic definition of a blockbuster. I mean, honestly, I don't think that they intended to write sequels off of it, but because Ryan Reynolds being who he is, and because of Samuel L. Jackson being who he was, or, well, is still, we're not talking past tense, don't you dare do it, 2021, don't you dare. You know, I mean, it was almost kind of like a no-brainer. They had to do it. Now, without spoiling it, because I think at this point it's still early enough to where there's, hey, spoilers, right? They have to write a third one just so that way they can get a trilogy out of it.
Yeah.
They have to. And, but it would just be kind of really cool to kind of see where they go with that.
Because they really made this one more comedy on this one.
Yeah. I mean, and I think the third one can be straight laughs. And obviously they're going to have their, we need to get that action fix in there. But mostly, I mean, in true Ryan Reynolds fashion, it would have to be so incredibly over the top.
I was actually just now is looking at the screenwriters for it just to see who did the thing, because a lot of the comedy into it, I think it was it had that Deadpool-esque.
Yeah.
And the guy, he just did Hitman'S Bodyguard, the first one, and he did the second one. But it just shows that I think we're finally ready without the cancel culture giving their 2 cents in.
Yeah.
And people are not going to care. And that was another thing that a lot of people are talking about is we're probably going to get away from the $100,000 movies.
You mean the $100 million movies?
Oh, yeah, $100 million.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, okay, so I'm looking at the domestic gross for the weekend. We had seen A Quiet Place. I went to go see A Quiet Place Part 2 with my girlfriend, Mindy.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that was an excellent movie.
Was it?
That was a great movie. So the top 3 movies, Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, brought in $11.6 million. Quiet Place Part 2 went from number 1 to number 2, brought in 9.4. Peter Rabbit 2 rounded out the top 3 with 6.1. And it made a jump from number 4 to number 3. Now, I think that these numbers are going to... We may end up getting back to those $100 million opening weekends at some point. I mean, because the theaters are just now really accepting people back. Now, I don't know if you noticed it, but whenever we go in to buy those tickets and you have to reserve your seats or whatever, right? They X out the 2 seats on either side.
Does it really?
Yeah, they're still kind of sort of potting people out, and I mean, as soon as we can eliminate the term social distancing from our vocabulary, I think that we'll be able to get back to those.
Yeah.
Now, when we start seeing Marvel movies really start coming back to the theater
Next week, I think.
Is it next week? No, because that comes out on the 9th, so it's like a week and a half from now, July 9th.
Yeah.
With Black Widow, we're going to start seeing those numbers start going up. Now, Black Widow may open up with like a $50 million weekend. I'm just going to kind of be conservative. I'm going to call the shot there.
No, because they're going to open it up in China.
Well, I'm talking about domestic.
Domestic? Yeah, probably only.
Yeah, because I'm only looking at the domestic box office. I don't care about the international shit. I know that Avatar took the number 1 spot again because they could not stand to have a comic book movie be number 1. So Avatar did a limited re-release for like a weekend.
Yeah, that was funny.
I'm like sitting there going, geez, it's kind of like between the Chrysler Building and the
it was Endgame.
Right, Endgame.
They re-released Endgame.
They re-released Endgame, and they got that up over there, broke that record, and it took the number 1 spot away from Avatar. Avatar did a re-release, and they retook the number 1 spot by like maybe a couple million.
Really? Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was during the whole pandemic, everybody shutting down kind of a thing. And honestly, I think, and they did a very limited release, so it wasn't like a nationwide kind of a thing. I think they did more of an international re-release on that. But, I mean, I really enjoyed this movie. And it, like I said, it laughed. And I'm telling you, man, one movie I am looking forward to is Free Guy, another Ryan Reynolds movie coming out.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be great. And it's just from the gamer's standpoint, plus it's Ryan Reynolds. And he just has a certain delivery to his lines.
Yeah.
And I think it's hilarious.
Well, this one's going to be very mellow compared to his other films that he's been doing here lately. Because Free Guy is literally, I mean, if you look at the trailers and everything, he's really just a normal, happy-go-lucky guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like
I'm still pissed off that Ready Player One didn't boast out as big as it wanted.
yeah, and there was talks about doing a Ready Player 2, doing the sequel, but if you read the book, Ready Player 2...
Is that out yet? I gotta get that.
Ready Player 2 is not... I think they shelved it. I don't think they killed the project. I think they shelved it because they really... I don't think that they're expecting it to perform as well as the first movie did.
You are wrong, sir.
Am I?
Ready Player 2 movie is in early stages.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, maybe they gave it the green light again, but...
I wonder if Steven Spielberg is doing directing again.
I don't know. But, you know, I mean, we're talking about some of those great producers and great directors, but we talk about, like, George Lucas, right? You know, how he sold out to Disney, you know, for billions
Oh, they're
of
getting
dollars.
them back.
Yeah. It was like, you know, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, they're like, you know what? Now that we're controlling Star Wars, we want George Lucas back.
Yeah.
And George Lucas, actually, he did come back he did a final season of the Clone Wars.
He also did, what would he call it? He came on to The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I mean, he was a very, very small advisory role, but
yeah.
I'll tell you one thing that I am looking forward to is the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
I'm still up in. I'm
well, they're shooting it around. They're shooting it in the Boston area. Like,
I'm ready for Boba Fett.
Yeah, they need to really be careful with that one.
Oh yeah,
they need to be careful with that one. They need to be careful with it, you know, because you're going to get a lot of those purists, and yeah, they're there. They're the same people that bitch about the movies when they come out. It's like, look, you know, do I like the sequels? No, I don't. But do I think that...
I don't like Disney's try.
Yeah, I don't like the Disney trilogy. That's what I'm talking about, the sequels.
Yeah.
The prequels, if you watch them, really pay attention, a lot of it, yeah, it was. I mean, if you look, there is some political, you know, subliminal political messaging there. But I think for the most part, they could have done a little bit better with them. However, you know, I don't hate the prequels. I don't. And I'm probably an anomaly, you know, amongst the people that we know here locally. But as far as the prequels are concerned...
They're all right. I enjoy them.
I mean, even to the extent that Jar Jar Binks, you know, it's like...
I had a chick that wanted to date me, and she said her favorite Star Wars character was Jar Jar Binks, so it didn't really last that long.
You know...
I'm not going to lie. I will judge somebody off of what
depending on... And there are some fan theories out there that Jar Jar Binks was actually a Sith Lord. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, because, you know, he voted for the Clone Army, so it was like, oh, wow, I see what he did there. Okay, so Jar Jar Binks, he's a little smarter than he was letting on. But, you know,
I will not play with that theory.
You won't?
No.
You just don't want to give him the... You
don't
want to give him
that.
You don't want to give that to him. Okay.
No.
But the fact that they are going to retcon, you know, take the Disney trilogy out of canon. I mean, they're going to make it...
Oh, they fired her.
Yeah. Well, they fired Kathleen Kennedy. Yeah, absolutely. And they needed to.
They were trying to do it the nicest way.
Albeit it was 3 films too late, but still.
Yeah, they were trying so hard to... It was like, we got to get rid of this bitch. Like, how do we do it? But we'll put her on... At first, she was a producer on another movie, and that was the last movie she's going to do. But they just... After Mandalorian, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, they just are like, these guys are coming in and dealing with it. Oh, they're hiring George Lucas? Oh, they're smarter than you, bitch. That's basically all it was.
Yeah, well,
I mean, there's literally there's this guy that has wears a mask and
there is a lot to be said for the fact that, you know, you get that hashtag that was trending for a while there, get woke, go broke. I think that's exactly what was going on, is that Kathleen Kennedy was trying to bring the woke message to the Star Wars universe.
Which should be, like, trumped down.
I mean, at its core, Star Wars it's
a World War II movie in space. Literally, that's what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing of it is that we can't. I mean, it's bad enough that comic book studios are trying to politicize their characters.
They stopped that during. They literally stopped that after a couple of episodes this year, on some of the CW shows.
Yeah,
they just like, oh, we're not doing this anymore because we're just going with the story.
Yeah, I mean, stick to the storytelling, stick to the development of the characters.
And their first development was Superman and Lois, and it's actually I've been catching up on it, and it's pretty decent. The only thing I don't like about it right now is they're saying that Clark Kent has a brother, half brother.
Well, how they can play that off is that all of these DC TV shows, they're all multiverse aligned anyway.
Yeah.
And it's like me, I personally, I enjoyed Arrow. I loved Arrow.
Oh, yeah.
It was great. It was a good series.
I didn't like the third season, though.
Well, I mean, Stephen Amell, though, I mean, anytime I see him now, I mean, that's Oliver Queen for me. Now, I did enjoy the movie that he and his cousin Steven did, Code 8.
Oh, yeah, that was very good.
That was a great movie.
Yeah. I was so happy that came out.
Yeah, I contributed to the crowdfunding.
Oh, really?
On that, yeah, when they were doing that Indiegogo or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, because that's cool, because I mean, he was riding that whole Arrow wave.
Yeah.
And Stephen Amell was part of the Flash crew, because he was the original. What was his name? We're going to catch all kinds of hate. I can't remember the name of the character. It was him and Victor Garber. They originally were the two when they joined together.
Oh, Firestorm.
Firestorm. Thank you. God, it was right there. I couldn't I wanted to say Inferno for some reason, but when he killed off when he jumped the shark and they had him write his character out, so he can go off and do other projects. He and Steven really kind of got together and were like, we want to do this movie. And so they couldn't get any of the studios to buy into it. So they went and did the crowdsource thing for it. And they raised enough money to get, the movie through pre-production. And I think I forget what studio it was that they ended up getting to buy into it, but I think it did really well. And it told the story to a finality, and it really, I think it did a lot of justice to what the story was that they were trying to tell. And, Code 8 just worked for them. And you could tell it was raw, it was gritty. And the special effects were actually really good for the budget that they had. And it was just your true independent science fiction film.
That's how a lot of people are saying that it's that's where it's about to go to, because they might stop the high-end paid actors and everything, because a lot of people aren't going to see the movies because of the actor that's in it like they used to.
Yeah, I mean, like for us, we, for this generation, and for our kids especially, they got to grow up watching Robert Downey Jr. be Tony Stark.
Yeah.
They got to see Chris Evans be Captain America.
And they realized that doesn't work anymore, because he did Dr. Dolittle after Endgame, and it didn't do too well.
Well,
I still like him as an actor.
Yeah, he's a great actor. He's just a dude disguised as a dude playing another dude,
People are finally coming up and they're like, I can't believe he did that. I'm like, really? The whole point of him doing that.
And the studio even came out and was like, really? Come on now. The most over-the-top thing in that whole film was Tom Cruise yelling into the phone, bend over and fuck your own face. He goes on that whole tirade.
Yeah.
I had my kids, I had my two boys watch that movie with me just for that scene.
Yes.
You know, because like, you know, my 12-year-old, he's on TikTok, and so they get all those sound bites, right? And he's like, "Where's that from?" I was like, "All right, hold up. We're going to watch this." And you know what I mean? The movie was just so bad. It was good, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's just one of those you keep going back to watch it.
And we're talking about Tropic Thunder.
Yeah,
people.
talking about Tropic Thunder, but
I can't wait to see Jamie Foxx's, because Jamie Foxx and Robert Downey Jr. and a couple of other people are. I don't know where the movie went to, or what it's called. It was on a. He announced it on Joe Rogan, and then I couldn't find it. Jamie Foxx is playing a white cop. Robert Downey Jr. is playing a Mexican, and it's just. I heard that. I was like, I'm in.
I bet you it got shot. I bet you the project got killed.
I don't know, maybe.
Because, you know, again, the studios they're all too woke, you know, and it's like, you can't sit there and make a movie like that nowadays. That's like The Office would never make it on network TV today. Not with the jokes that they were able to tell.
It would still go well.
Dude, it would be like a Netflix.
Yeah,
thing.
it would.
But
the only thing that I really, it's like one of those people keep on telling me is like, man, you know what I wish they would do a reprisal of is Wild Bunch. That's what it's called, I think.
Now I'll tell you the show that I'm halfway decently excited about is they're bringing back Night Court.
Are they really?
Yeah. Obviously Harry Anderson's dead, so you know we won't have Harry on the bench. But from the Big Bang Theory, the woman that played Bernadette, she's going to play Harry's daughter. John LaRoquette's supposed to come back, and he's supposed to be like Uncle Dan, and he's going to be there. I don't know if he's going to be a prosecutor or if he's going to be there to like advise her, kind of thing. But they need to try to bring back some of the cast, man. Like Marky Post, they need to bring her back. You know, because everybody wants to know what happened with Christine and Harry after Christine went off to D.C. You know, I know that this is like a little Easter egg, and it's like one of those, you know, like obscure like details about the original show. But Harry had a stuffed armadillo on the shelf in his chambers. That needs to come back.
Just that? Really? That's all you get from it?
No. But every time they were doing a scene in his chambers, it was always that armadillo on the shelf.
Okay.
It was always there. Anyway, so I mean, but that's going to be kind of a cool show. Dionne Warwick needs to come back. I mean, they need to, you know, because she played Roz, one of the bailiffs. Obviously, Richard Mall's dead, so Bull's not going to be there.
Did he die?
He died.
Dude, sad face.
Exactly.
Fuck. Why are you telling me this now? You're supposed to
like most people that are like 500 fucking feet tall, like Andre the Giant, Richard Mall, people who have giantism, dude, they don't last very long.
I know, but you could at least, you know, make
I'm
it.
not going to sugarcoat it for you.
Gently bring it. It's like, hey, remember the
I'm
guy
gonna
that
get
played?
a strap on. I'm gonna fuck your feelings. You know. I mean, see what I did there?
Yeah, I see what you did there. This is really good.
All right. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of stuff that we can unpack in future episodes. But you know, kind of getting back to what we were starting with the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, dude. If you have not had a chance to go see this movie, definitely go take the time to go see it.
Yeah.
And just kind of go into it. If you haven't seen the first one, for God's sake, just rent it on Vudu or something. I think it's actually on Amazon this month.
Yeah.
So just watch it, you know, and then go and watch the sequel. And it's hilarious.
It's.
They didn't spend a lot of time doing backstory stuff. They just kind of like
It didn't bring me back. It still didn't top the greatest comedy of all time, but it was there.
Are we talking about Blazing Saddles?
Fuck, we're talking about goddamn Blazing Saddles.
Yes. So
how can you say that Blazing Saddles? I never heard anybody say Blazing Saddles was the greatest comedy of all time.
Okay.
That was Richard Pryor's writing, and it was
Now,
the greatest.
Here's
movie.
the thing. very briefly, I dated a girl. I introduced her to Blazing Saddles.
Okay.
This relationship did not last because I'm sitting there watching this and I am laughing my ass off, right?
Yeah.
She gets offended. She's like, this movie is all kinds of offensive. Why are you watching it? You don't have permission to pick movies anymore. And I'm like...
Well, you don't have permission to suck my cock anymore, and I find that very offensive to you.
I'm like, really? What's not to like about this movie?
It is so great.
She was like, the amount of racial slurs. I'm like, think about when this movie was written. Mel Brooks.
Not even that.
Mel Brooks, who is a Jew.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of anti-Semitic jokes in there. I mean, there's nothing that he left on the table. I mean, he all the cards were out there.
He didn't write it. It was Richard Pryor that wrote it.
Right, but it was a Mel Brooks movie though.
Yeah, he directed it. He was about to write. He was writing and everything, and he literally said, "It was like, I can't write this movie. I'm going to have a black person write this movie."
Yeah,
to get better thing.
Now I'm not going to drop the word, but he's like, nobody move, or yeah. Like, oh Lord, he means it. He's going to do it.
Oh God!
And it's funny that we talked about we're bringing up Blazing Saddles.
The sheriff is near.
Yeah, the sheriff is near. So, and it's funny that we bring up Blazing Saddles because I was listening to Mike Rowe's podcast today, and he was talking about Hedley Lamar, the actual woman,
woman.
And he was like, because his cousin had snuck him into his first R-rated movie, and it was Blazing Saddles, right? And he, it's like he found himself laughing at jokes that he didn't get. Like it's not heady. It's Hedley.
Yeah.
And he's like, so he goes home and asks who Hedley Lamar was, and his dad goes, "Well, that's the most beautiful woman in the world." And then
that she was the most genius woman in the world.
Well, yes, she was.
You can thank her for Wi-Fi.
Yeah, thank her for Wi-Fi. Exactly. I mean, she used to be okay. So
she's my dream woman.
Her real name was Hedwig. Okay, and she used to be married to an arms producer in Germany or in Austria. Her husband invited all these Nazis and fascists over to the house during the 30s, and she hated them. And she would just be a fly on the wall. And there was one night that she was like, well, you'll have to excuse me because I need to go powder my nose. Because they were talking about, her husband was selling weapons to the Nazi party. She goes to powder her nose and nobody saw her again. She made her way to Paris where she was discovered by a French director. And then she was sent to Hollywood. And it was actually to the point where she was deemed too beautiful to speak. So she was just making these movies and not having a whole lot of speaking lines. She was there for the eye candy, right? Mm-hmm. And so she was also very intelligent, so she would spend her evenings over a drafting board. And she came up with a technology for, bouncing radio frequencies to help the Navy defeat German U-boats.
Yeah.
Well, the Navy was like, well, if you really want to help us, why don't you use the assets that you have and go sell war bonds? So she did. She sold kisses. And she raised like $28 million or $23 million just by selling kisses, right? And that's like $220 million in today's money. And she used that to help raise money for the war. And then comes along the Cuban Missile Crisis, and the technology that she had invented actually helped. So I was like, man, well, that's really, that's great. It's like Mike Rowe sitting there talking, and he's talking about, he was asking his dad who Hedley Lamar was. And he goes, well, it's the most beautiful woman in the world. And he said his mom spoke up from the back, and he's like, well, Dad, do you have a picture? No, your dad does not have a picture. And he's like, well, what does she look like? She looks like your mother. Now go outside and cut some wood. You'll feel better. And so he had to wait until Monday to go to the public library to look up pictures of Hedley Lamar. And he was like sitting there, he was like, oh my God, she was in fact the most beautiful woman in the world. And he said it's kind of odd because he didn't really start researching her until he was like 37,000 feet in the air using the Wi-Fi she helped invent.
Exactly.
And I was like, man, that's just cool. So yeah, that's why I thought it was funny that we brought up Blazing Saddles, because I'm like, oh wow, talking about like everything kind of comes full circle. It's like, I just heard about this today. So, well, I didn't hear about it. I knew about it, but it was just like I had just listened to something about it today.
Because I'm a telepath.
Whatever. Anyways.
It just doesn't work on women.
Apparently.
All right. Well, this is another episode of What the Hell. Today's episode was for...
And if, to be honest, cutting you off, if you wanted to be telepathic, if there's a movie that you want to see about men having telepathy that worked on women, Mel Gibson in What Women Want. He had, I think it was Marissa Tomei.
Yep.
Yep. So, anyways, you were saying.
I'm David Ickerman.
I'm Johnny Skelton.
Are we going to end every episode where you try to trump me or something like that? Because
No,
this is
but,
like a going effect.
Yeah, well, you know, I had this big, long conversation with my kids this weekend about whoever's trying to get the last word in and how so annoying it is. But like you were trying to say, this is what the hell. Stay classy, San Diego.
Fucker.